think it's time we grow this dream. Get everybody on the mics together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, podcast.
How lucky are we to have a theme song like that? I'll tell you how lucky we are, but I'm going to tell you later, because right now what I need to do is say hello, welcome to the sudden but inevitable Rebop. My name, of course, is Boot Scoot, aka Vanilla Husband, aka Dusty, and I am your host, just like always. Now, everybody knows that it's not just me here to take you through Cowboy Bebop with our 2 first-time anime viewers, okay? Of course, I could do that, but it would just be wrong. So instead, I have a lovely co-host, and of course, that lovely co-host is at Miss My Armcast Kylie. At Miss My Armcast Kylie, how's your week been?
Hello, Jesse. It's been incredible and a long, busy week. And as usual, very excited to get to this point of my entire week.
I agree, 100%. Spoiler alert, I only worked for like 3.5 hours today, so I'm in a good mood. There's not much that's going to change that. So how was work for you? Was it all good? Was there anything terrible?
You know, this was actually my first week of my big girl supervisor position, and it was very busy, but it just is going so well, and I'm a happy camper, and life is good. I couldn't be more excited to cap off the week with such a fun show. So
That is excellent to hear. Now, of course, before we introduce the rest of the wonderful cast, let's take a quick moment to say hello, thank you, welcome, and we love you to Callie and Rona D in the live chat. Callie, I believe it's 4:45 in the morning where you are, so thank you very much for making us part of your weekend as always. And Rona, I don't remember what time it is where you are, but if you throw it in the chat, I'll give you an appropriate greeting. Thank you so much for being here, ladies. Now, of course, we do have 2 anime first-time watchers and, introduce you to. The first of those people is my friend Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. Ricky D, what's your week been like so far?
It's been pretty good. Just bebopping my way through the heat.
I see what you did there.
yeah.
Yeah, it was what, a triple-digit heat more than once this week, roundabout our parts.
Yes, it was.
Is that kind of rare for up north? It's usually a little bit cooler up there than it is in the city, right?
Well,
it's just hot and oppressive all the time.
Yeah.
In Colorado, yes.
Exactly. It's got the same swing that any other part of Colorado had. Where you guys know
I mean,
how it
I
is.
was up in Aspen, way up in the mountains, and it was still 93 degrees up there. So,
Miserable.
Rona, it's 3 p.m. or a.m. Good 3:45, Rona. I apologize if the audio is a little. Now, of course, the last regular member of our crew that is our other anime first-timer, and that, of course, is the head of the Twist My Arm Network and the host of our podcast, Josh. Josh, how has your week been so far?
It's been good, man. I've been doing all the podcasts in the world this week. This is my 3rd out of 5 podcasts this week. So I've been very busy with that, but it has been a nice distraction from the real world, if you know what I mean. And we also have Mr. Baby Yoda hanging out with us on the Death Star windowsill today because I had to bring him along for the ride. Why not, right?
Yeah. 3:45 a.m. Scotland is an hour before Germany. Well, hello, morning. Thank you for being
here. Is this the time that I do the Sean Connery accent? Does that
Yes.
work?
No, now it never is the time.
Speaking of Sean Connery accent, I got to be on the Green Shirt podcast last night, and that was so much fun. I can't wait to listen to that episode 3 weeks from now. But if you haven't listened to Green Shirt yet, definitely go listen to them because they are hilarious.
Oh, hello to
That's all I got.
made it to the start of the stream. She says, "Yay, I'm here and happy that we are still introducing everyone." Rosie, thank you for joining us. Josh, I agree with you 100%. Green Shirt is probably some of the most I've had guesting, and as far as listening, it's very enjoyable. I'm left in their entire catalog, so go download all 90 plus episodes of Green Shirt. Only worth your time. Normally. That would be it for us, you guys. We would just be done introducing folks. Oh, I'm sorry, Josh. Did you have another point?
If I may, the crackling is getting kind of bad. Do you want to switch to your phone, maybe? And
We can give that a
see?
shot. We'll see if it works.
I can continue introducing everyone for the rest of the show. Again, thank you guys for hanging out in the chat. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but we want to make sure that you guys get the best audio quality we can give you. Excuse me. Like Jesse was saying, we normally have just us four, but this week we do have a special guest. He was hanging out with us last week, and we are super excited to introduce Ricky's good friend and old roommate. His name is Phil. What's up, Phil?
What up, Phil?
Hey,
How are you, man?
doing all right. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us.
Happy to be here.
I hear you're a pretty big Bebop fan.
More than a little bit, probably.
More than a little bit. Okay. All right. So it's probably like me in Star Wars then, right?
Thereabouts, yeah.
Yep.
I actually, we might have access to this, but I saw a photo of Phil with Shinichiro Watanabe that he actually met him.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow.
Yeah. Would have been NDK in Denver back in 2017. Watanabe was one of the guests that had gotten flown over from Japan.
Nice.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your experience with Bebop. When did you first start watching Cowboy Bebop? When did you first fall in love with it?
Would have been probably 2003 or so when I first ran into it on Adult Swim. Just catching a couple episodes here and there, and got pretty hooked. The music, first off, just will get you.
I agree. I wish I would have watched the show back when it was first airing because the music is definitely what would have got me into it as well.
Yeah. But I figured once I had the opportunity to actually see the whole thing beginning to end, it was just pretty immediately one of my favorite series.
Heck yeah. And so how do you and Ricky know each other?
Random happenstance.
Yeah, we were put together in the dorms our freshman year of college, and we just made good friends with a lot of other people on the floor, and it's just kind of persisted.
Yeah.
It's good people. We've also worked together in there were like the underclassmen dorms for freshmen, and then upperclassmen like apartment buildings, and we spent a couple summers living together in those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
So CSU would be my best guess?
UCCS, actually.
Okay.
In Colorado Springs.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, okay. See, okay, I'm blown away. You guys are up north, right? So.
Phil's still down in Colorado Springs.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
all
no,
right.
I'm from
I'm
the
still
Loveland
here.
area, so I kind
Okay.
of I've floated back and forth a couple times.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you're the one who's traveled far and wide in the state of Colorado.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And I love your banner, by the way. What did you think about the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer that just came out?
I am pumped. I'm playing through Breath of the Wild for the second time right now. I'd played it originally on the Wii U, playing through it now on the Switch, so that I am ready.
Nice.
Grab the DLC and play through Breath of the Wild 2 or whatever they call it as soon as that's out.
Nice. Yeah, I need to do that again. I've played through it twice already because the first time I played through it, beat it. You know, it was awesome, and then I let my friend borrow the Switch, and he deleted my whole game progress for whatever reason. So I had to play through it again, obviously.
Right.
And now that 2 is coming out, I'm gonna have to play through it a third time. Maybe I'll do that for TMA games.
Well, if
that'll
we're going
a
to be
fun
talking
stream.
video games, there's a Zelda clone out from Ubisoft. It's
shit.
Immortals Phoenix Rising.
I've
It's on
seen that,
sale
yeah.
this week. It's basically Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, but it's set in the world of like old Greek and Roman gods.
Oh, sweet.
It's a lot of fun.
Wow.
It's on deep discount right now. I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun.
If
yeah.
you are digging the whole Greek gods thing and you haven't had a chance to check out Hades,
Yeah, got that one too.
play it.
You played it more
that a-
though.
Is that a
It is-
Nintendo game?
It was on PC originally, but it's on the Switch now and is actually hitting other consoles later this year. But it is
Okay.
a roguelite where you play as Zagreus, the son of Hades. And
Okay.
you are trying to fight your way out of the Greek underworld.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dang.
So it sounds like you're on the same page as Ricky and I when it comes to Nintendo. You seem
Oh,
like
yeah.
a Nintendo lover. That's
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's great to hear. You're a Bebop lover. You're a Nintendo lover. You're gonna fit right in. Do you like Star Wars?
Oh, yes.
What about Star Trek?
Yes. Actually,
dude.
finally got around to watching the first season of Picard this week.
I need to do that myself.
I'm only like 2 episodes in, but it's spectacular.
Heck yeah, I will get into that. But it looks like Jesse is back. So let's give the floor back to the host here, and hopefully things are good, right? Are things okay over there in Jesse Land? Maybe.
It doesn't matter what it looks like. What matters is what it sounds like. So do I sound any better at all?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, did I beat myself?
No, I mean
Nah,
you're
you're
good
We're good.
now. Just like I think it
Little
was
bit of a
Meg
delay.
that
Run, let's
commented on
jam.
the, yeah, should we do the theme song one
All
more
right.
time?
Well, go ahead.
Yes? Are you serious?
Well, normally we would do all that same stuff, but
All right, I'm sorry. Now he is muted. We got him now.
can you guys? Yeah, no, I can't hear you guys.
Oh no.
Silence.
Uh-oh.
Maybe.
It sounds like the delay is a little bit ridiculous.
Oh no.
Goodness.
Usually we're not as lackadaisical about this or something, or
We stand by.
unprofessional.
We are experiencing technical difficulties.
Do I have any elevator music? I don't think I do. I could probably find some really quick.
I think Jesse's totally frozen now.
Yeah.
I think he is.
Well,
Kylie.
I was gonna say, should I like just go ahead and take the reins and Jesse can pop in, if he's able to come back? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, let's
right.
do that. So
Okay.
give us a little bit of a breakdown of what is it? We're talking about episodes 5 and 6, I think.
Ballad of the Fallen Angels.
Absolutely.
Fallen Angels.
Session 5 and 6.
Yes.
But yeah, let's jump into it, man. I'm excited.
Well-
So let's do this. And if Jesse can come back, I see him. Testing, Jesse. Okay.
Excuse me?
Hey.
We were just gonna start doing the
You guys
little
hear me?
synopsis.
Yeah.
Yes.
Things are sounding good.
Sounds like the delay is really bad. You know what? If you guys have to, you could do the show without me. But you know what, Kylie? I believe in your abilities as co-host. So why don't you go ahead and start with those synopses?
All
Yeah,
right. All right.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, it's Kylie's time to shine. All right, cool. Well, Cowboy Bebop Session 5, we're talking about Ballad of Fallen Angels. Spike aims to collect the bounty on a member of the Red Dragon Syndicate, but his mission leads him into a deadly showdown with a face from his past. First thought there is I gotta say that watching anime in my childhood definitely was a good way to like expand my vocabulary. So syndicate is definitely one of those words. Crime syndicate, things like that. So I'm just excited. I wasn't sure. I guess I couldn't remember or pull from where I had heard that word before, but it's definitely Cowboy Bebop. So that's kind of fun. Anywho, though, jumping on in, some of the important characters that we have in this episode are going to be Mao Yenrai. And then we get to meet Vicious, which is the old friend, the old face that you see. And then you got Annie, which is a fun character. And a couple other fun faces that we will talk about going forward into that. So, I guess my Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's just dive into this first scene because this first scene is incredible. The whole like they're making a truce. It looks like between to me it kind of looks like a Yakuza truce with them and some other gang, and then
White Tiger Syndicate.
White Tiger Syndicate. Was it the Yakuza and the White Tiger Syndicate?
No, Red Dragon.
Oh, Red Dragon and White Tiger.
White Tiger, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm really bad with names of things sometimes, but that is, I mean, to me, that's just like one of the coolest scenes of both of these episodes, especially with like the whole, the I don't know, the blood, like the violence of this scene, but also the like samurai stuff of this scene was, I don't know, it was cool. Ricky, what did you think of the opening shot with this truce and like the assassination and stuff?
This episode wasn't as difficult, but I kind of started off watching it going, there's more new characters. I don't know who these people are. Phil was talking about how he like watched it in syndication before he was able to get it streaming and watch it all from back to front. No, front to back.
That too.
And I feel like I would get something different out of this show if I was able to like just catch it when it's syndicated and when it's going around. I'm trying to like build this entire giant picture of what the entire season is. And I think it would be easier for me if I just saw individual episodes and watched them multiple times, just whenever you catch them, and then string it together that way.
Well, and this is really when the overarching plot of the whole series kind of kicks off.
Okay.
Is with this tie-in to Spike's backstory.
See, and I was wondering that because my first favorite shot of the show was the opening shot of the entire series where it opens with the rose falling on the thing. And I was like, I have so many questions about this scene. And I was so excited to get more answers to that and see like what it was kind of, there's obviously still more questions than there were answers, but like it was a really cool like nod to the backstory. Yeah, and then gosh, the explode, like they're just watching the ship go and you're like, of course something bad's gonna happen. This is one of those kind of shows. Something bad's gonna happen, and then the ship explodes and then everybody dies.
The introduction of Vicious is just spectacular.
Would you say it's vicious?
Quite so.
When I first saw Vicious, I was like, oh, we're playing with Sephiroth now? Is Sephiroth
all right.
And
is it just the silver hair or
the silver hair, the sword?
Okay.
Yeah, the long
sword.
thin sword.
All right.
The connection to the mysterious connection to the protagonist's backstory.
All right.
And then by the end of this episode, I was like, oh, is he Dracula? Because he had major Dracula vibes coming. It was very Castlevania-y. near the end
Well,
of the
I got-
episode.
especially
I got
when
major
you
Final Fantasy vibes for sure. Sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was gonna say though, Dracula, Castlevania kind of thing, especially because you got that church thing going on.
Yeah.
You know,
The whole color palette, and I wanted to mention this between episodes 5 and 6. The color palettes of each episode are so different. This one you
They're
got like
splendid. Just
right, and it's so good according to what each show is about. You know, like this one's got the dark purples, the blues, and the like.
there's a lot of muted what would otherwise be really bright colors if it were not like cloudy, rainy. But with the stained glass windows in the church, you get so much lighting, and it's just
well, and I
Yeah.
that's one of the things that one of my shots that I had picked is just like I feel like sometimes in anime, like people are like, what, how can we make this the most epic, the most, symbolism that we could ever pack into one scene? Okay, throw in a church, throw in some rain, throw in some flowers, like we're good to go. It's epic.
We should shatter one of those giant windows with all
Exactly.
the stained glass windows.
hit
Right,
the
but-
Ave Maria in the background there.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Um,
So in that scene though, you've got Mao Yenrai of the Red Dragon, and then you've got Carlos of the White Tiger, and it seems pretty clear that we're kind of just trying to like stomp on all the past and all the like the strife that we've had between the two in the past. But then you got Vicious coming in, and he's not super agreeing. He's not agreeing.
Do you guys think that the bounty that was put on Mao, because that's what Spike and Jet are looking at in the next scene, is the bounty that's put on Mao, and they're like, ooh,
Mhm.
28 million. Do you think the bounty that's put on him is because of the treaty?
Because of the explosion that took out Carlos, I think probably.
Well, I feel like they were looking at the bounty simultaneously as that scene was going on. Like as the truce is happening and Vicious is showing up, Jet and Spike are looking at the bounty.
Mhm.
So like I kind of saw Vicious as a bit of a bounty hunter.
Ah. See, and I think of it more likely as probably bait. Like, hey,
Oh.
if Spike is still out there, what'll get his attention? Put Mao in the news.
Okay. Okay.
Mm. That makes sense because him and Mao had a past relationship, right? Like, they
Yeah,
were pretty
the
close.
implication is that Mao was like mentor to both of them.
Correct. Definitely go way back. But again, Spike's being pretty cryptic. So is Jet about his
Mhm.
past life. Don't know
I
much
love
about
that.
really anybody that's going on.
I love that discussion where he's like, "So tell me about this dude," and he's like, "Tell me about your
Now
arm."
you messed up
He's
your arm.
like, well, how's that relevant?
yeah. Yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
don't come at me with that. I'll come at you. Like it was. I
So-
love the interaction between Jet and Spike. They have the funnest interactions. It seems like they don't like each other, kind of sometimes, but they're like the reluctant best friends.
Sure. And going back to, Firefly. Does anybody really like Jane? I don't know if we really like Jane, but we love Jane kind of thing,
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably so. Who would Jane fall under then? Would that be Jet?
Oh man, I don't know. I did think about that actually, and it's hard to say that there is a set equivalent. I mean, Spike would definitely be Mal, but it's hard. You only got the few to pick from, so it's hard to draw lines. But
Yeah. Jesse, you're back. How are you sounding? How are we sounding?
You guys sound great. I sound like this. I don't know how this sounds.
It's
It
not
sounds
awful
Better
fine
so
for now.
far.
Yes.
We
Okay.
talked about Castlevania without you, Jesse.
That's okay. When I jumped in and I heard that you guys were talking about people that you don't like but that you love, I assumed we were talking about Ricky Deep, but I'm glad to hear it was just a fictional character. That's much better.
Oh,
That's excellent.
oh, Callie's cracking me up in the
Ooh.
chat here.
You guys, let me Let me personally say thank you to everybody in the live chat for your patience. I apologize, and I appreciate you guys willing to stick it out. Make sure that someday we'll all be together somewhere in the same virtual room. So thank you.
Yes. Yes. And again, thank you guys for hanging out in the chat. If anyone listening to this podcast on like Spotify or something wants to join us, we go live every Friday at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Ish. Yeah, depending. But you can always come hang out with us in the chat. We do have a phone number, 508-93-TWIST, that you can call us at. My phone is actually hooked up right now, waiting to take calls. So if you want to do that, 508-93-TWIST is the number. You can come chat with us on about Cowboy Bebop on the sudden but inevitable Rebop. Kylie was doing a great job introducing us to this episode, getting us into that first scene with the white tiger and red dragon, and then we were talking about the bounty, and I think we were just getting into Spike and Jet's relationship and how they're kind of like reluctant friends. So is there anything else that we missed there?
No, I think you're good. Sorry, there was a slight fire alarm at my house. There's a huge thunderstorm happening at in this area, and it's like
Yep, I'm experiencing the same storm right now.
Yeah, so we just had the fire alarm go off, so I muted myself in case. I have no doubt that Kylie did an amazing job. She's a very good co-host, and we've kind of been building her for this exact thing. So I have no doubt that she did a good job. But to continue my theme, I do have a couple of questions from my friend Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. Now, they all take place over these first couple scenes, okay? Ricky, they're eating Chinese food. Is Chinese food too local for you? Is that okay that they're eating Chinese?
Oh my God.
No, I'm totally kidding. So then we get to this next scene, right? And Faye shows up with the bag, so she's been shopping. Ricky, is shopping not exotic enough for you? Is that too pedestrian? Do you wish Faye had no concept of capitalism? I'm sorry. That's a lot.
I'm just. Where are they going to throw it all away, though? What do the future trash cans look like?
But what about the trash cans?
Oh man.
One thing about the scene where Faye's coming in, and there was also Ein right there, and she was taking Ein's food. Or was that? I think that was the second episode. Sorry, but I noticed that it activated two very interesting and very different. Before we go there, like happiness areas in my mind. There was the hot anime girl wearing short shorts and high stockings, fantastic. And then there's this cute little corgi butt that's like kind of bouncing around in this still shot, and I'm like, those are two great things. Those both make me very happy.
I can't.
Anime
really
girls and doggo butts.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like moment when Jet just straight up tells Spike, like, "Okay, but I'm not going to back you." And Spike says, "Your call," and gets in his Corvette and leaves. And I had an experience this weekend. So we were driving out to see friends in like person for the first time. I mean, and it was just another couple friend of ours and their daughter, and we were having a barbecue. But on the way there, we saw a Corvette Stingray, and it was dark green, which is not really the color I would have picked, but it was pristine. Okay, and 74-ish, and his wife was in the car with him, and I felt like I almost felt like I got caught looking at another woman or something when they pulled up, because I was like really checked the car out, right? I was like, oh yeah, that car. And then they pulled up, and the wife and the passenger saw me for a second, and her husband went, "It's the car," and she went, "Oh, okay." And then thankfully they drove off very quickly, so I didn't really. That explains to you how understanding my wife is, because she was sitting there the whole time. I had to share that moment because that kind of gets at the essence of what I love so much about Spike's ship, is that it really gives you that sense of speed and just aerodynamic fun, right? Like it's got that sleek design, it's got the cool fins, it's got the nice lines on it. So I had to share the story about seeing an actual Corvette because I'm always referring to Corvette. The next scene that I had kind of made notes on was that are they still drinking Pepsi? Is that meant to actually be
Yeah.
Pepsi?
Did they win the cola war?
Yeah.
Cola War. Huh. I didn't
Way
even
of the
notice that
future.
was Pepsi. Interesting.
Oh, it
Is
was
the
super
old school,
Pepsi-ish.
was it the old school
Pepsi.
Pepsi logo too? Like the old cans?
Yeah.
You know, before Big
Like
Mouth
the-
cans. You guys remember Big Mouth when that was like a thing?
No, maybe
Yeah.
I'm too young.
I definitely
Oh,
remember
you're
switching to
absolutely
the
too
Big
young.
Mouth can.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, you still see some of those in like antique shops where you see
With
the, like,
the
old
narrow,
Mountain Dew cans with the dude. And looking at it, it's like how did humans drink from that shit? So
With
my
much more
question,
moderation.
then, how in Cowboy Bebop do you think they still have the small openings or the big mouth openings? Because
you know, I
would
would
just
be I would wager that there's plenty of current or older tech that has lingered throughout Bebop. Given that no spoilers, given that Betamax actually shows up eventually in the series.
well, I noticed in this episode when Faye gets like kidnapped and she's on the screen, she's all
Mhm.
looking hot. She it's like an old Mac computer kind of. It's got like the little file button up at the top corner with the X on it
For
and
the
stuff.
browser. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I always like looking at that because it was like in Firefly. There was the same thing with the trash compactor. I think they were using an old Microsoft like Windows 98 or something like that. And so it's kind of, I don't know. It's funny to see that stuff.
Looks
Do I
like
sound okay?
we lost Ricky, or I'm sorry,
No,
Jesse.
Jesse's all voice now. He's gonna be
Oh,
the
okay.
all
You still
knowing
here,
voice
Jesse?
above.
Oh.
I'm the voice.
Kinda.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Man, I wonder if the thunderstorm is what's messing up the
You
the
know
sound
what?
over there,
Probably. That's probably what it
the
is.
connection and whatnot. And you know what? We forgot to go through our mistakes from last week, and there were some big ones. But we could probably do that in the middle of episodes 5 and 6. We'll do like an intermission,
Okay.
a mistakes intermission.
Well,
Corrections.
Colorado has very rapidly changing weather, so hopefully we can get Jesse back here pretty soon.
Yes.
But in the meantime, I'm gonna just like keep us moving.
Keep it
so-
moving. We'll keep it moving.
Yes, yes. Oh, like Jalen and Jacoby.
Got to give the people, give the
Yeah.
people what they want.
Anywho, so Faye on the TV screen, she gets to see the bounty for Mao, right? So
Yep.
this is what kind of prompts her to kind of do what she does and wear whatever outfit she decides to wear. And she goes to the opera house.
She
Okay.
got money for a slinky dress.
She did. Maybe that's what she bought when she went shopping. Who knows? But anywho, so she goes to the opera house and she's like Slick Faye, and she's like, oh well, I don't have a ticket, but maybe you should take it up with that really important man up there, and I think that he'd have something to say to you. So she lets him go, and she goes up. And, she's like kind of, held at gunpoint. Things were, yeah, it was definitely a setup of sorts. And then she sees quite a sight to her right when she takes a look. So, what were your thoughts, Ricky D, about that particular scene? Did it remind you of anything is my particular question.
Oh, I can't say that it necessarily reminded me of anything.
Okay.
If we're trying to go back to Firefly, maybe when they kidnapped River in that weird, like, colony-esque place, the dancing colony.
Okay.
Some people juggle geese.
I've got geese to juggle. But other than that, it didn't strike me as anything specific.
Okay.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Josh, no, okay. It's funny because some of these things that I did have to look up to like reiterate what I was thinking it was. But I took cinema study in high school, and
Hey.
we got to learn about a lot of 60s, 70s, 40s, 50s kinds of stuff. So this particular scene reminded me of the 1976 film Marathon Man. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Where he looks over and homie's like, they're at the opera house and his throat's all
Hey, there's a
cut.
corpse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So it's just like going back to session 1 where they did like the whole Desperado bar scene and stuff like that. So that was definitely pretty neat.
Yeah, there's a lot of homage throughout Cowboy Bebop. Toward the end of this one, you get a lot of John Woo kind of nods during the gunfights.
Correct. What is that? What is that movie? The oh man, the John Woo that I'm thinking of. Anywho, if I can't think of it off the top of my head, that's fine.
Hard boiled or
I don't know. But anywho, moving on. And then kind of going back to the like little church scene or whatever, and all of the anime things that you see throughout different kinds of animes, and the flashbacks and the beautiful
tropes.
symbolism, the tropes. Yes. There was I don't know if they even like name this person in this particular episode, but the blonde girl that they keep going back to.
yeah, her name has not come up.
Okay, I know what her name is, but I don't. Yeah. So yeah, you're kind of not really sure like what's going on with this girl. Like, there's some flashbacks going on. She seems to be some sort of I don't know, maybe not love interest, somebody special to Spike kind of
somebody
thing.
who's very obviously connected to Spike and to Vicious.
Correct, and into the Red Dragon Syndicate and all that stuff. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's what's kind of fun is, you're at this point, you're still wondering what's going on with Jet's arm, and do we find out? When do we find out? What happened? So that's definitely kind of fun.
There's a lot of build up for backstory for everybody going forward right now.
Yes.
And it's
for such a short season series.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of jam-packed story, so.
Yeah. The world building in Bebop is really it's spectacularly done. It's really dense because they have a lot to establish really in a very short period of time.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of why I feel like for me personally, it'd be better to just watch random episodes and just acquire all of this Bebop lore and back knowledge and then start from the beginning and watch it through. That seems like a weird thing to want to do.
Yeah.
Because obviously you should watch something from the beginning to the end, but it's just, I'm missing so much. And I feel like that weird old version of watching TV shows where you just catch random episodes, it would help me put all of this together better.
And maybe
I'm
that
awake
was
at
kind
2
of
a.m.
like,
Here's one.
Maybe that was our because you were saying 2003 is kind of when we watched this. That's the same with me. I was very young then, but it was 2:00 in the morning that I was watching Bebop, and it was scattered and random episodes. And yeah, maybe I've seen an episode 3 times, and then I'd catch one that maybe I had never seen. But maybe that was part of what the fun is. When you're watching it in order, you're like, oh, all these things should make sense, but perhaps they shouldn't.
But you were talking about tropes earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And when Spike goes into that woman's bar, Anastasia, who I have no idea who she is or what she's about.
Annie, yes.
Annie.
You don't want to call her Anastasia.
Right.
Unless you're Mao.
They made that point.
But
She said, what, two people call me that or something? There's only 2 people?
Yeah, 2 people, yeah.
And one of them was Mao, and he's not going to be talking to her anymore.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But things started getting difficult. Like Spike came back and she thought Spike was dead. So she starts drinking alcohol immediately to cope with it. And that's kind of an old trope, drinking alcohol to deal with stress.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we move on to the next part, I guess one of the last things that I wanted to say that was my favorite about this whole episode is when Jet's like sitting and he's like trying to think about whether he's going to go save the day, right? Because Faye calls and she's like, "Oh my God, Spike's in trouble!" Like, and he's like, "Oh, whatever." He hangs up.
He's
And
just
he's-
trying to work on his bonsai.
He's cutting this bonsai tree, right? And he cuts it. He cuts this big limb off, and he's like, "Ah, I butchered it." And then he sits there and he thinks about it, and he's like, "Wait, am I butchering my relationships like I'm butchering this bonsai tree?" And then he gets up and leaves. Like, that's what I thought was happening anyway.
I think that was the metaphor there, wasn't it?
I would think
Yeah.
so. I mean, yeah,
Pretty
maybe
sure.
maybe it was obvious to some, but not to others. So I thought that was cute.
Yeah. Sorry I disappeared there for a second. I was trying to get Jesse back in here, but I'm not sure if it's gonna work out with him tonight. So
This is going to be our highest rated episode ever.
Jess, Ricky's got to throw something in there. He's got it because Jesse did.
Gotta throw
Get his
every
shots
once in a
in while he
while.
can.
Well, I'm very sad to hear that about Jesse. That's definitely a bummer. I'm sure he is definitely bummed. But we'll see him again, hopefully next episode.
Well, hopefully this episode works.
Yeah. Hopefully he can
Back to
come.
this
I
one,
mean,
but-
we are about halfway, but we'll see. And if he does,
Yeah,
if he is
and
able to
listen,
make it, we'll throw the reins over to him.
I'll
so.
take care of this whole episode for you, Jesse. You don't have to worry about it. I apologize that things are not working out for you. I will edit and do everything for this episode.
He did say at the beginning of this episode he was in such a good mood, nothing could get him down. And it's like that was a challenge.
Oh, the universe is like challenge accepted.
Apparently.
That's what I said at work this last week, and then it was like, "Oh, really, fool?"
So before we move on to session 6, is there anything that anybody else wanted to say about that particular episode?
I love the shot of Spike arming up before he heads to the church, just pulling the gun out of the refrigerator. It's just
Oh yeah, that's where I left that. I was just keeping the bullets cold.
that and the bag full of grenades that he
Yes.
spills
Which
out
Mal
on
would
the
have left
table.
behind.
Yes.
Yes,
Mal would have left those
exactly.
grenades behind.
They would have been nice right
Wow.
about now.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I guess I probably missed the whole battle scene between this was the one with the opera scene
Yup.
that was really Fifth Element-esque to me.
Okay.
When they pan down and they show the guy getting ready to sing, I was like, "Oh man, something's about to go down." They only do this
And-
in scenes that things pop off on,
And would have been about a year after Fifth Element had
Really?
come out. Yeah.
okay,
Okay.
Very interesting.
Fifth Element was 97.
okay, I love that movie so much, and yeah, that opera scene was great, and then even like her sitting, them catching Faye and being like, "Yeah, we know who you are, so
Yeah.
just sit your ass back down and watch the show." At least she got a free show before she got tied up.
Yeah. But
and
then,
that's one of the
then she
tropes.
gets to look over at dead homie, and then she knows she's gonna die. So
Yeah, you get to spend the
Yeah.
opera next to a corpse. That's,
yeah, not sure how relaxing or special that
Right.
is, but
And did you guys talk on the boob trope? Did you get on that yet?
I have some notes about it.
Because this episode was boobs.
The two kids when Annie grabs the two kids who have been trying to steal the
smishing,
magazines. I mean, the magazine's theft first off. Like, okay, we're gonna steal a dirty
Also,
magazine.
Was that Faye in the magazine? It kind
No.
of looked. Didn't she have
Nah.
the same hair? That wasn't her. It kind of looked like her.
Nah.
But okay,
Nah,
all
but
right.
then the kids when Annie scoops them up and they both look at each other and giggle.
yeah.
Yeah, because their faces are just in the giant anime boobs.
And,
And
the
then there
boobs.
was the scene where Faye was walking away from the battle, and there was almost no movement on the screen except for her boobs just floating in anti-gravity. I was like, oh, that's where most of the budget for the animation from this episode went to.
Seriously, like they really emphasized the boobs in this episode in particular. The one after this, not so much.
No.
But this one was really just, there was the hanging up, the like kind of slave Leia thing going on, and then there was the leaning over into, was she leaning into the fridge and trying to get something to eat and just see. I mean, That's one of those things about anime that I always remembered was just the boobs and the abs, man.
The
The,
abs.
the guy looked like Kylie. Kylie, you were telling me before we started. The guy looked good. Spike looks good. He's
Yeah.
a hot piece of meat.
Yes, what I was saying is that yeah, you guys get to look at Faye, but I get to look at Spike. So
Just not very much though, I feel like.
no, no,
there'll
no,
be
they
there'll be
don't. It's
more.
yeah.
It's not as much as like the shirtless training scene at the beginning of the first episode, but
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean he's a nice hot piece of cartoon meat for sure. Jesse, you're back. Are you better than ever, or how we looking?
We'll find out. We have no idea
Oh.
what the quality is going to be like, but this is what I
It
sound.
sounds really great.
Yeah.
It's
I
sounding
think
good.
Okay, good.
I think we burn all of his quality audio time on asking him how his audio is, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's okay. We're big on
So-
irony with this show, so
So then I feel like we passed over the whole battle scene with them too.
Well,
with
and
Spike and Vicious.
it's one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen in anime. I
Dude.
love the gun versus the sword thing.
Mhm.
Just
Mhm. Yeah, and the falling out the window and the like. I mean, all this is when you get the flashbacks for
Yup.
when Spike was a wee lad or something. It looks like they were partners, right? Vicious.
You
and
get
Spike
the-
used to be partners.
you get the back-to-back shot of them
Yes.
in the middle of a
Yes.
gunfight, and
Yeah.
they look at each other and exchange very confident glances, and
Yeah. So it's definitely they definitely had some sort of connection back in the day. Was it confirmed at the end of this that Vicious was dead too? Did that get confirmed? I can't remember. Aha, see, and with
at
Phil's
the end
look
of, at
right
the end
there.
of at the end of this episode, no.
Yeah, he's coming back. All right, cool, excellent. Because I really liked Vicious. I will say I agree with you, Phil, that this is one of the best fights I've seen in anime.
Mhm.
In what little anime I've seen, and it's funny because this episode was the best fight, and the next episode was my favorite villain,
Oh,
which I will get into a lot more for sure. But yeah, that the whole fight scene, that dark purple, the Castlevania vibe that you get from that, and the sword play and everything. Jesse, what? Obviously, this had to have been one of your favorite scenes.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't
So-
trying to tell you to wrap it up or let me talk. I was saying
No.
I've got the same color
the purple
scheme
light,
going.
yeah.
Oh,
Right
I
on.
got to wrap
That's
it
what I'm-
up.
that's
I
what
was
I'm-
succeeding to wrap it up.
Oh, no,
That's why I'm
I got
bringing
it.
you
I got
in
it.
because I wanted you to talk about most likely one of your
I
favorite
would-
scenes from this episode.
I would never presume to tell you to stop talking in such an angry way, but
Wrap it up, buddy. Come on.
so actually this whole scene, right, from the time that he's walking up to the church to everything that goes down in the church, it's so like it just like everything else in this show, right? It's very trope heavy. You get a lot of tropes. This is all stuff that we've seen before. But again, it's just executed at such a level that the familiarity doesn't bother you. It doesn't feel ripped off. It feels original enough. Like you get enough of what you need out of this. And I feel like that heavy purple, atmosphere to everything is a big part of that. It's kind of softer of a color than you would expect for a scene like that. And just the slow motion and the highly stylized nature of all the falling glass and the explosion being half fire and then all smoke. It was just it's a beautiful scene visually, and the whole fight back and forth, and their dialogue is just it's one of the more enjoyable fight scenes probably in the series for me. So I
Yeah.
really, really appreciate having a moment to talk about it. The
Spike
the
just
thing that I do like
wiping the
about
floor
when
with
he's
the henchman.
falling is that we get that, yeah, and that scene when he's falling out, he's like, we get all these other scenes interspersed with that. It's like his life is flashing before his eyes. And so now we're like, okay, how much of this is flashback? How much of this is yet to happen? Is it just him going crazy? but yeah, the movement, the way that scene conveys movement, even in their still shots, I think is just it's very, very well done.
Yeah, there's a reason that Bebop remains one of my favorite anime because it just has held up in terms of the animation, the music, the action sequences. It has held up incredibly well over the last 23 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've been really enjoying this, and it's hard sometimes to watch older shows and really get into them, but because the music is still so good and because the story and stuff has been so much fun so far, I'm definitely enjoying it. I feel like if I went back and watched a lot of other animes, I'd be like, yeah, nah, man, I'm good. But this, obviously, one of the most renowned animes, it's still pretty good. So, Kylie, was there anything else from this episode that we should have covered?
Did you guys really quickly? Did you guys?
Sorry, Jesse.
Did you guys talk about the name Vicious and is it stupid?
And is it stupid?
It's definitely over the top.
It's an anime name.
But-
I wouldn't look too much into it.
I'm just
I didn't
calling him
think about it.
Sephiroth Dracula.
I just thought
Because
like,
that's more mellow.
I like when he said vicious when Faye was like, "What's your name?" and he's like Vicious. I was like, that's got to be a code name or like a joke, right? Like,
And it
Right,
might
and that's
be,
what I was
vicious.
Yeah, you did.
it might be a code name, but I mean,
Yeah, nobody said he was born with that name.
Yeah,
You never know. There's a football player named Precious. So
And his brother's name
Someone-
is God's gift.
yes, so absolutely someone could be named Vicious.
Absolutely.
I mean, Jet's name is Jet Black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though I caught something in his login sequence when he was doing the background research when he was looking into Mao, and his username is Jet Engine.
Cute.
Nice.
That's funny.
Yeah,
He's a black thumb.
So I think that would probably wrap it up for this episode.
yeah.
If you guys, so I wanted to hit our intermission while we still have Jesse here. And our intermission is going to be last week's mistakes. Jesse, you pointed out a huge mistake that we made last week, and I figure we could probably correct that mistake right now in this intermission before we go any farther. So, Jesse, why don't you tell us what that's all about?
So we got very proudly to the end of our episode last week, and we were like, all right, you guys, that was a great show. That was so much fun. We had an excellent time. And then I think the next day, while I was editing, we realized we actually didn't give our ratings for the last two episodes. We just skipped doing that. And I don't know how it happened. Everyone that was here in the chat, it must have, slipped you guys' minds too, because nobody said anything. And when I mentioned it to Callie D, she was like, oh my gosh, I just realized that too. So we're going to fix that. We're going to give our ratings for episodes 3 and 4 this week. So we're going to go ahead and do basically the same order that we normally do. Before we do that, Rona points out that Sid Vicious was a member of the Sex Pistols, and then also pointed out that we're all probably too young or too American to get that reference. We know who the Sex Pistols and Sid Vicious are, Rona.
Dude,
I appreciate
Rona,
that.
I used to
and
Yes.
I used to
get
cover
where you're
3
coming
different
from,
songs
and I'm
in
going
a
to
punk
take it
rock
as a
band from the
compliment.
Sex Pistols, so I'm very familiar with them.
I'm going to take it as a compliment because we like to be referred to as young. So,
The lady who raised me has a
anyways,
Sex
before
Pistols
we-
tattoo, so.
I kind of take exception to be called too American.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what? No, I'm
I
not
don't
gonna
know,
hold
Ricky.
her. I'm not gonna hold that one against her because honestly, sometimes we say stuff that we probably don't even like realize is like way incredibly American and ridiculous. Like the Cheese Whiz thing. They were like, what's Cheese Whiz?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Thinking we don't know who the Sex
Um,
Pistols are. You don't even know what Cheese Whiz is. Come on, guys.
before
True.
we give our ratings, I do want to say thank you really quickly to everybody in the chat for your patience. Thank you, and I'm sorry that it took me so long to get a stable connection going. Hopefully next week there are no storms or events at my house that mess with my stability. So, let's go ahead and we'll do our normal. I think this is our normal sequence for giving ratings. So we'll have Ricky D go, then Josh go, then Kylie, and then I will go last. And then we'll have Kylie give the synopsis for episode 6, Sympathy for the Devil.
All right. So I've got to go back to Honky Tonk Woman. I gave that one a 7. I don't have a whole lot of notes on why it was, and I've forgotten a little bit from last week.
Yeah.
But I did give a 7 to that one. And am I giving my second rating also, or am I holding up on that?
I think
No,
you should
go ahead and
just
give your
go ahead
second
and do
rating.
it.
Okay. And then for Gateway Shuffle, I had a 8. I had an 8.
I actually, it's funny because I had the exact same 2 ratings. Honky Tonk Woman was a 7, mainly because I liked the space gates. I liked the like, and shooting missiles through the space gates was pretty freaking cool. But then I gave what was that episode? Gateway Shuffle. I gave that one an 8, mainly because Faye joined the crew, and I was really excited because she's. And not because she's hot and a hot anime character, but because she's a cool character and kind of a badass. I was like, sweet. Now she's gonna be around for the rest of the show. Hopefully they don't wash her away like they did in fucking Serenity. That'd be garbage. I'd be really upset. I'm gonna be really upset if any of these main characters die at any part in time or any point in time in this show. I'm telling you right now.
So that's 2 7s and 2 8s from our
Yes.
first timers. So I believe that means Kylie, you are next with your ratings.
Yes, so I was actually opposite. I did 8 for Honky Tonk Woman. I suppose that's not where she, joins the crew, but that's where you meet Faye, and I don't know. I was into it. And then Gateway Shuffle, I did a 7. Not that it wasn't good or anything. It was very decent. It just, Honky Tonk Woman kind of did it for me a little bit more. So
I could see that. And I actually agree with that. So for me, Honky Tonk Woman is an 8.5. I love that episode for so many reasons. And hearing where you guys kind of land on it really helps me gauge that I'm pretty sure I enjoyed it a little bit more than you guys did. And for the second episode, though, for Gateway Shuffle, I'm actually going to give that one a 6. It has some fun moments, and there are some, enjoyable things in it that I really have a good time with. But overall, if I were going to introduce somebody to one episode of this to get them to watch the rest of it, that wouldn't be the episode that I picked. That's not me hating that episode. I feel like there are other episodes that would get people hooked a little harder. So I'm going to go with a 6 on that one. So with that, let's go ahead and have our wonderful co-host Kylie at Miss My Armcast read the synopsis for episode 6.
I would say she's the host today, man. I would say Kylie's the absolute host on this episode.
Anywho, whoever I am, I'm going to read the synopsis. Okay, Cowboy Bebop Session 6, Sympathy for the Devil. The latest case for the crew of the Bebop finds Spike pitted against a young boy with a talent for the harmonica and murder.
How are you guys digging this harmonica right away? I gotta know.
So awesome.
It's musically, it's just such a nice shift from the stuff that we've heard. picks back up with a lot of the harmonica that we've heard throughout the series so far and just keys it
Yeah.
up.
I have a hard time paying attention to music when I'm watching TV, watching movies. I know it's subconsciously affecting me, but I do a bad job of paying attention to and appreciating it in the moment. But this harmonica was so prevalent, and it was such a main feature of this episode, I could not ignore it if I tried to.
Yeah, it's and I liked how different it was too, because it was kind of a different style. Like, and every episode has a different style of music. I feel, like you start with the jazz and then you kind of get into some opera, you get into some like bluegrass harmonica, like there's some pop rock, some pop. Like there's a ton of different music in this, and it's kind of amazing how many different genres the gosh, I can never remember her name. Yoko, I believe.
Seatbelts.
Yeah. Well,
Yoko Kanno.
Yeah.
the seatbelts play the music. Yoko writes the music. So
Yes.
she's the the brains of the operation. She just hires the band to come in and play. It's like John Williams.
They are. They are getting back together for
Yes, I
the
saw that.
live action Netflix adaptation of Cowboy Bebop. We're getting Yoko Kanno and the Seatbelts back together.
Man, I think Netflix is gonna kill that series, like in a good way. I think they've done a good job with certain things. If it's anything like Daredevil, I think they'll do a really good job. Making it darker and
I want to take this
bloody.
opportunity to say good night to Sinacera and thank you for being here in the chat. It sounds like you just got off a 12-hour shift. That is brutal. So thank you
Ouch.
for spending some of your post-work time with us. And don't forget to check out the audio version. I know you will, because that'll be the nice version. And spoiler alert, there's going to be a shout out in it for you. So thank you very much for joining us. My thing with this harmonica is that those soulful, ethereal tones immediately pulled me in, right? But we do have a scene right before that, actually. And I would love to get Ricky D's thoughts on this scene. Okay, so the scene right before that, scene that opens up this episode, is kind of this weird sci-fi scene with dark lighting, and Spike is laid out on a table and there's some kind of surgery going on. So how do you feel about this scene? What are your thoughts? And then as soon as you're done, Josh, go ahead and follow that up.
This was just a lot more. It's just bringing up more questions for me. It kind of looked like they were giving him some kind of robotic eyeball or eyeballs. And there's been a lot of talk about how he can see everything or he can see faster or something like that. So it makes me curious if he actually has some kind of enhanced vision and he's not just, kind of a superhuman. But so, is he really fast or is he robotically fast, I guess, is the question that I came up with during this.
And good luck finding a solid answer.
Well, it's a flashback, so it had to have been something that happened, right? Like I guess it's a dream, but technically it's kind of a flashback. And there's superpowers in this show, so why wouldn't we have a cyborg, right?
Well, and Jet has a metal arm.
Mm-hmm.
See, yeah, we got our own half jacks in this show.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's actually that's funny because when I first saw Jax in the latest movie that we just watched, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like Jet.
Jet Jacks.
Just throwing that on there.
Yeah. And
they were contemporary, so it kind of makes you wonder which one came first.
Yeah. And maybe that harmonica has powers too. Maybe that harmonica has a way to I don't know, bring memories back or something. That kid was really good at playing it, but Spike couldn't even get a sound out of it later, which is really weird for a harmonica because even
Have you ever given a child a harmonica?
Well,
yes,
Because it doesn't work. That's what they're like. It doesn't work. That's what it sounds like when you give
Well,
a
he was
child a harmonica.
blowing in the right side, where if you blew into any part of it, it would have worked.
You're right.
This-
I'm sure he would have been smart enough to figure out at least how to make a noise.
I mean, come on, Spike, what's going on? But yeah, I don't know. I was more involved in the whole dog food scene. Like, what the hell?
Did you see that coming? Did you expect her to feed Ein, or were you like, oh, she's gonna eat it? Like, did you see it coming before it happened?
I thought she was going to
No.
feed Ein, and then I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I was like, oh, how nice of her. She's feeding the cute little dog, and then she's like, oh, what a savage. What's happening? She just
It was
and then she slurps it down like.
It was such a great nod to the constantly broke state of the crew of the Bebop, though.
And
Yeah,
that's
we
actually
get-
my first note. Is the opening shot shows how they're completely out of cash, and I'm expecting some kind of major score very soon to keep them in the sky.
No, they're pretty clearly just scraping by most of the time, and having 2 more people on board the ship to feed. Well, 1 person and 1 dog, does not help their situation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they haven't scored any money this whole time, right? Have they gotten any
Nothing
money
they've
from
kept.
any mission yet?
Nothing that they haven't had to, like Jet said in the first episode, pretty much immediately use to pay down debts from whatever.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're gonna have to sell off that nice Corvette.
Well, and that's an excellent parallel specifically to Firefly, right?
Yes.
About powerful need to eat sometime this month. Like, it's that very similar. Like, we're always broke. It's always a hard life. Nothing about this comes easily to us.
We've got the
So
whole out of gas
this next-
aspect kind of thing going.
Yeah, exactly. And it definitely has like feelings of that episode kind of strung throughout this whole series, right?
Yeah.
Of this like constant desperation and like edge of failure kind of stuff. This next scene where Spike is following the kid, right, when he leaves the club and the music kicks in. This might be one of my favorite songs from the series. It's called Don't Bother None, and it's that very slow starting acoustic guitar, and it's just very bluesy, and that song
Just some
it feels
simple
so
chords,
right to
and
me
it just
when it starts. Yeah, very old school, like very simplistic but good. It has, for me, it puts me in the mood for a song by a band called Clutch, and the name of the song is Electric Worry. And if you've never heard that, go check it out. I'm thinking maybe we should put together like a playlist that we've all, like, songs that we are reminded of from the music in this show as we go through it. And then people can listen to those songs kind of as the same mood, like a mood playlist, right? But what did you guys think of that song? Were you guys like in love with it?
Well, I wanted to first bring up, since we're on the topic of music, Kylie had found a pretty interesting tidbit as far as the last episode's music as well. What did you find?
Yes, I was going to save that for my
Okay.
one of my
Okay.
fun
I'm sorry.
facts, but
I'm sorry. Never mind. No, I loved the music of episode 6. It was wonderful. The harmonica and going from the harmonica thing or music to that acoustic style was really good too. They have a really good way of segueing into the other styles in the show as well.
Fully agreed. The next thing that I was going to ask you guys, so if you notice, both of these characters have animal code names, right? We have giraffe and zebra. So if you guys were going to have an animal code name, what would it be? Let's start with Josh, and then Kylie, and then Ricky, and then Phil.
Animal code name right on the fly. Man, I'd probably just be the monkey. I always say that I have orangutan arms. So I'd probably the ape, I guess.
All right. I would be the jaguar.
Jaguar.
My French teacher in high school assigned us animals in our class once, and it just kind of stuck with me, and I felt that it was appropriate. So jaguar all day.
I would probably be a sad rhino.
I can dig it.
Definitely.
Oh man,
Specifically a sad one.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah, just chilling in the
Yeah.
grass with the sad Charlie Brown music.
Mhm.
Sometimes munching on the wheat. That's incredible. I love it.
Even the birds on his back are being jerks.
Phil, what about you? What animal would you be?
Otter.
Otter, okay.
Yeah, I blame the Redwall books from when I was a kid. But
Okay. all
Oh,
right.
yeah. I could see that.
yeah,
Personally,
And just-
I
They're just
would
cool.
like to think that I would be. I want to say that I would be like a crow, but I think the only fair way to do this would be to have you guys tell me what it would be, because you can't really give yourself a code name. The kind of
Well,
same way
I
you
mean,
can't give yourself a nickname. So do you
if
guys
you're
have one
not
that you think would
if you're
fit?
not one of the birds on the sad rhino's back, then
Just pecking away. Yeah, that makes
That's
sense.
too long for a code name.
And I guess I don't know, crow squawk.
Ooh, how about Mockingbird?
Huh.
I was thinking
Yeah.
badger. You could be a badger.
Badger. Yeah, that's a
Wombat.
good one.
Ooh, I like that.
Wombat. Yep.
Badger,
I mean-
Wombat, Mockingbird.
What are those animals that like run up and steal things from you and
Rosies.
run away? Oh, those are monkeys too.
Children.
Those are also monkeys.
My last Rose says my last name is Lion in Spanish. My high school mascot was also a lion. I am a lion. Rosie is a lion. Rosie is. Are you also a Leo, Rosie? There's
That
a
would
lot of
be
lion stuff to all line up
crazy.
in one life.
Yeah. I did find that interesting, the zebra giraffe aspect. Are there going to be other animals? Are we going to have a lion? Are we going to have a tiger and a bear? Oh my. What else could we have? Or is this the only time? Spoil it for me. Is this the only time we get animals?
it is.
All right. Never mind.
It is the only time these guys come up. But when
it
we
is,
get
yeah.
into the
They
whole bit with them being part of the self-defense volunteer squad, it's like, okay, if we ever met any of the other guys from that crew, then maybe we'd run into other people who had those kind of code names.
Okay. Interesting. Kylie, what's next? Where are we at here?
You asking me?
Yeah.
What do you? Where?
We were talking about animal names. We were talking about zebra and giraffe. Where are we as far as the show goes? I was trying to think.
I'm not. I'm only confused about why you're asking me.
I thought you declared yourself host
When-
earlier.
When
Yeah.
Spike,
Yes, and then Justin
what I
came and
heard.
took the reins, and then he was doing it. Okay, you know what? I'm like prepared. I guess I was a little bit caught off guard. Anywho,
This is the best episode we've ever made, guys.
I do want to say that one of my favorite parts, though, is when Spike's like, "Oh, you should go talk to that big guy over there."
Yeah.
Talking to Jet, you know?
He's like,
Yeah,
hey,
early
you
in
know
the
the guy. You recognize him. Go talk to him.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, you've seen him before, right? And it turns out they're like best friends in the whole wide world. So his name is Fatty Rivers, which is a really fun name. But
That's his real name. Okay.
That's a spectacular jazz musician name.
well, yes, and you want
Yeah.
to
I
like,
mean, like you get like Fats Domino.
yeah, and it kind of reminds me of like Muddy Waters.
Yeah.
Fatty
Hmm.
rivers, muddy waters.
I thought he was kind of a bounty hunter too. Like to me, okay.
He's definitely also a cowboy.
So they had to have been distracting him then, right?
Oh
Is that
god,
what
yeah.
it was? Okay.
Yeah, no, Jet is sent to basically go fish for information so they can figure out what's going on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then who's the to go follow the kid in the wheelchair? Who was the guy the other guy, the big guy?
Is that the giraffe?
Was that Giraffe?
That's Giraffe.
That is
yeah.
Giraffe. Okay, so he follows Giraffe around the corner, and then Giraffe gets like.
Giraffe goes and confronts Zebra and the kid.
Yeah. Okay. And so this whole time we're thinking that the guy in the wheelchair is Zebra, correct?
He is.
Well, yeah,
Zebra's the guy in the wheelchair.
But we think,
We think Zebra's the bad guy.
right.
Yeah, we think that the kid is the
And
one
we didn't
who's
know
in
the kid was
danger.
kind of in charge.
Yeah,
Right.
We're thinking that wheelchair guy is like holding little kid hostage when it's
yes, and that Giraffe was trying to save the kid, not trying to save his buddy.
Right. Yeah, that's what he says when he's dying. Like, oh, don't let him fool you.
I really like
and
the
here's-
distraction aspect from
for those
Fatty
that
or
haven't
from Jet
seen-
to Fatty. Sorry, Jesse, but because of that, like when they
You're
like
good.
I feel like Spike was zeroing in on Giraffe. Like that's got to be the one that I'm following, and so he's like, "Fatty, go distract Fatty, so I can follow Giraffe." And then he's following the kid, and then it like goes into this. I feel like he gets like duped into following Giraffe. Or
So
Zebra,
Giraffe was the mark. Giraffe was the bounty head they were after.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I got confused there.
Yeah. No, so Giraffe is there tracking down Zebra and the kid. Spike and Jet are there, and so is Fatty to track down the bounty on Giraffe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And all right. Now,
so Spike
everything
sends
is clear now.
Jet. Spike sends Jet to distract Fatty, so that Spike can go chase after Giraffe and try to bring him in for the bounty. But Giraffe has his confrontation with Zebra and the kid when he has this confrontation there, and then
so
there's a lot of falling out of windows in this series.
I was just gonna say that. My next question
and that's
is:
a big difference right there.
do they fall out of windows in every episode? And does Faye always say something about men being stupid? Because I'm pretty sure that every single episode so far that Faye has been in, she's like, men are so dumb. Or like, whatever she said in this one, men are so childish, I think. I don't know. Does she have a different men are so quote in every single episode? Kylie?
No, but...
Or Phil? I mean...
Not in every episode.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I can't say for sure 100% yes or no, but a lot.
I'm watching now. I'll be watching. Every episode.
Count.
Like, when's she gonna
Take
say
tally
it?
marks. Yeah.
Yes,
I will. I'll little tally marks on the desk. There's one. There's one. Man hater. So now, like the next thing that Spike sees is what? Giraffe falling out the window, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's panicking, trying to tell him not to die so he can still collect the bounty on him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, because
The
again,
big difference here then, like from how it would be in Firefly, is that they're working. The bounty hunters are all working for law enforcement. Right, so they're totally legally sanctioned. So when the cops show up at the end of this scene, it's actually not a problem. It's just like there are cops here now, but it's not actually an issue because these guys.
It's not an issue for Spike.
Yeah, right, for Spike.
Yeah,
and we do have this kid. He is actually a trope character. Josh and
Mhm.
Ricky, you may not know this, but having a character who appears to be about 8 to 12 years old, but is actually super old, like older than a normal person should be, is a very common thing in anime. Usually it's used for much more gross reasons than it was used here.
Oh,
Yeah.
But
nice.
it is
Yeah.
the kind of thing that you will see more frequently if you continue watching anime going forward.
And
Why
one
you gotta
thing,
ruin that for me? He's my favorite villain of this series so far. Why you
Oh,
gotta
he's
ruin
still
it?
one of the best. He's still one of the best villains throughout the series.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I wrote down in my notes that anime does a much better job of having child villains
Yeah.
than anything I could think of. Any real movies, like if you think of Damien from The Omen, or there's a number of child villains, and they're not really great on screen, but in anime, much better. And you can kill the child in anime, and it's not nearly as much of a shock when you kill a child in anime, because they did that thing where they rapidly aged him, and it's like, oh, well, we didn't kill a kid. So I definitely made note of that.
Right.
Huh. I guess I thought there was always some sort of stipulation with killing children, but maybe that's just in like Hollywood movies or something like that.
Oh, I did miss what you guys were talking about, but this episode actually didn't air in America.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't
Fascinating.
actually see this episode until I bought the DVD set
Yes, it didn't air in America.
because of pretty much exactly that. I mean, Wen gets shot in the head like
Yes.
a couple times. And
Yes,
Like I
it
said-
was the child death. thing.
Okay, and that makes a lot of sense. I guess I thought that it would have aired because the kid ended up being an adult, like it was just a superpower or something that he had.
yeah, it was still one that even Adult Swim couldn't comfortably get away with airing at the time.
Interesting. Okay. That's really cool. Because that's very Firefly-esque to have episodes that you don't air. Huh. Kylie, this is your favorite villain, right? Just agree with me.
I would say yes. Definitely, probably one of the coolest. Yeah.
I'm sure there's more
And-
villains throughout the series.
Well, the first
but-
time I watched the episode, I was very surprised. Obviously, watching it again, I'm like, oh yeah, oh my gosh, this guy. But yeah, no, it was definitely, it threw you for a twist. Obviously a pretty smart guy, even if he is, sometimes when people are old, they're not very smart, and this guy's obviously a genius. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I loved, again, just with the world building, finding out about the gate disaster.
Yeah.
That kind of triggered his whole situation. The hyperspace gate on the moon exploded, and
and the flashback of that was so cool too.
oh yeah,
When he's sitting there playing his harmonica as he does, and
Mhm.
then you start seeing all those sweet like asteroid looking things coming down from the sky or whatever that is. What
big old chunks of moon
radiation,
flying
maybe?
down. You got
Chunks of
chunks of
moon,
moon,
okay.
and you got hyperspace radiation, and
Okay, and that's what I was thinking. Is it's got some sort of radiation from the hyperspace gate.
yeah.
okay.
The
Sorry.
the whole moon exploding thing actually will come back to play here in a few more episodes when there's an eventual return to Earth that does still involve some of the chunks of the moon. So
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So Kylie, you had something to say, and then Jesse will get to your point.
Yeah, I had remembered reading that there was another reason why they didn't air this particular episode. And it says that this is one of 3 episodes that was delayed in the wake of the 9/11 attacks. And so, because it contained a scene of a man falling from a high-rise building and burnt
Would've done it
corpses, burning
too.
rubble, different stuff like that, for those reasons, and because it was a child, they did not air it. And it was around 2001 that they had this on Adult Swim. So
yeah,
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was so graphic at the end of this episode. That
Oh,
whole
totally.
it was like A New Hope times 12, because instead of just seeing dead skeletons, the kid is like wrapped in a dead body, and it's like, I
Oh
don't
god,
know,
yeah. It's pretty gross.
yeah. Jesse, what did you have to say? You had a point to make?
Yeah, you thought they smelled bad on the outside, Josh. So for my fellow viewers who have seen other anime and might be slightly more well versed, did you guys get any parallel series vibes in here? For me, with this flashback for this kid, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this feels like I'm watching Evangelion right now, and when this is done, I'm gonna go watch Evangelion. So
Okay,
was that just me, or did
hilarious.
Kylie and Phil,
Yeah.
did you guys?
So I did
were you
not
guys
get.
like, okay, we gotta watch that? Yeah.
I did not
I
get.
have it sitting on my shelf to get to next. Actually, like, gonna probably queue up the first episode tomorrow night and just
So
dive back through that one.
Excellent.
Evangelion was actually my first episode ever of all time, so that's exciting. But no, what this reminded me of,
Oh,
when
of
I see
anime?
Callie, Callie's mentioning Detective Conan, which is totally true. But the one that it reminded me of is Lupin the Third, because he's got his purple jacket
The suit
and
jacket.
the suit jacket, and then the
Yeah.
yellow. Yep, it's totally
Yep.
Lupin the Third. So yes, all you anime buffs, you got your Conan, your Lupin the Third, Evangelion. Those are all like OG animes. Like
I don't know anything that you guys are talking about.
Because of Phil, I know a little bit about Evangelion. That's
So,
the
so Evangelion is really where I first saw that it was like, your Transformers, your big robot kind of things. And as I've mentioned on previous episodes, Gundam is always my favorite, but Evangelion was probably was that the first that ever came out with those big robots?
No.
No.
The mecha
It's
genre
designed
is
to be
like Gigantor or Tetsujin. We
yeah.
can go way back, but
Okay.
Evangelion was the first one to do the kind of streamlined, sleek, or more organic looking giant
Okay.
robots.
And
And
whereas Gundam was your
and it
first
was-
where you're like in the robot kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
Or is that
and
Evangelion too?
Well, no,
No, Evangelion was
It's-
definitely inspired by Gundam and similar
Okay.
stuff.
Cool.
It's a big
Yeah.
genre.
Yeah. So a little bit off tangent, but
Well,
yes, anime all day.
Yep.
and Evangelion it's meant as like a loving homage and parody and send up and critique of the mecha genre. So
Yeah.
it definitely didn't come first. It just
No.
did everything the best. To your
Okay.
point, it's miles better than Gundam in my opinion. So
Oh,
that's where I sit on that. But I will say let's get out of the weeds here, because Josh and Ricky
Yes.
have no idea what we're talking about, and I don't want them to feel
No.
excluded. Let's
Yes.
get
Cool, man.
back
You're
to this episode of Cowboy Bebop, and let
Yep.
me ask you: did you guys know that trench coats could have hoods? Because I didn't know that trench coats could have hoods. Now I want one with a hood.
Well, I watched episode 2 of Loki this last week, and that trench coat had a hood. So yeah, I kind of knew that could happen.
That was spectacular too.
nerd
Which we break
fashion.
down. Yeah,
I
we
didn't
break
know.
that whole episode down. Marvel Canon Madness podcast every Wednesday, 8 o'clock.
Yep.
Plugging away.
Like you did.
No, I did. I really like all the outfits of this show in general. Like all of them. You know,
Yeah.
everyone's got a really significant sort of garb. Is that the right word?
They're very iconic outfits for all of our leads.
Yeah.
With Spike's suit, with Faye's whole
No clothes at all.
yellow, all
Yeah.
yellow gold
Her scraps.
Loincloth.
suspenders. No,
They're strategic
everybody has like a distinct color palette to them that's
Mhm.
very, distinct. It's
Not to mention like Spike's green hair.
yeah.
that's definitely iconic for sure.
Yeah.
I love the shot as Spike is headed out to go fight. He's just Jet hands him one last cigarette. It's like, hey, this might be the last time we see you, but just in case.
I'm surprised he didn't eat that cigarette like he did in that
Oh my
one
God,
episode.
yeah.
During Honky Tonk Woman.
Oh, thanks, Jet.
Which again, he didn't do. Whatever.
Leave that up for debate, I guess. I'm pretty sure he still ate that shit.
Yeah, no, he spit it out in the thing, but whatever.
All right, fine.
Okay.
And then he's going out to battle this guy. I feel like Spike gets his ass kicked in these episodes. Like
He gets his ass kicked a lot.
Okay, is that just a bounty hunter thing? Do bounty hunters just get beat up a lot?
It's really more a Spike thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
the amount of time he spends wrapped in bandages is not insignificant.
He heals pretty quick though. He's got that Wolverine healing going on here.
So fun thing. Steve Bloom has also voiced Wolverine in addition
Yes.
to voicing.
We talked about this,
in addition
Josh.
to voicing
Oh.
Spike.
Yep.
Oh yeah, because he voiced like Green Lantern and all sorts of other things, right?
He's all over the place. He's
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, Wolverine, Killer Croc in the Arkham games.
Yep.
And Tom, the host of Toonami.
Oh, dude. Okay, first of all, that's way cool. I didn't notice that. But he actually won. Steve Bloom won Guinness Book of World Records, whatever, for most
For the
voice
number of
acting
voices
for-
he's done.
but for video
Wow.
games specifically. So
Yeah.
it's like Call of Duty and like all your big names and stuff like that. So
Yeah. No,
Steve Bloom's
he's
pretty huge.
he has an incredibly recognizable voice wherever he shows up.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's actually the second voice of Tom. The original one was Sonny Strait
I was gonna say
for
I feel
like the
Sunny,
very
yeah.
first. Yeah, Sonny did the voice of the very first iteration of Tom,
Cool.
and then all the subsequent ones have been Steve Bloom.
Awesome.
Right, Tom. I never watched Toonami, so like you saying Tom from Toonami just makes me think of Face from Nick Jr.
I mean, he
They just
served the
changed
same
his
purpose.
Aw, Face.
He served pretty much the exact same purpose as Face.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He's a total badass, though. Oh
They
God,
changed Face's voice eventually
Man.
though, and I quit watching. It was like
when
it
you
was like the moment I realized I grew up. I was like, oh, Face's
That's
voice
true.
has changed. I'm done. So I
God.
probably would have done the same thing with Toonami.
when Tom came on Toonami, you knew it was 5 p.m. and like you're done with your homework and like you can
It's time to just chill out with
watch
the
anime,
cool
dude.
shows.
Yep.
Huh. Yeah, I guess I never got to enjoy those. Whoops.
Too fun. Too fun.
There's not a lot much else to talk about other than the child getting shot in the face.
Again.
Like what, like 3 times in this episode, right? Nah, it's twice.
He's
Two.
not a child.
He
Okay.
looks like one.
He is dressed as one.
No, the target, I guess. I really liked the scene when Spike, when he like I keep wanting to call him the kid. When the
When?
guy
When?
when he
W-E-N. Yeah.
when he throws the wheelchair dude down the stairs, and Spike catches him and then turns around and just blasts the dude in the face,
Mm-hmm.
and then he goes to check up on him, obviously to see his dead body, and there's just blood
The
everywhere.
blood
and no
splatter.
Yeah,
I'd made a note actually about just the blood splatter on the floor after that shot.
it was interesting because I was like, so this kid just can't die. So he's just been around forever and ever and ever, and he can't die.
Well, for like 30 years.
Was it only 30 years?
Yeah, it's somewhere around like it's since
That's
since
boring.
the gate
I like
explosion, it's
to
been like
to
30
think
years.
that's boring. I like to think the gate exploded 300 years ago, and he's been a child ever since.
The whole like timeline of Cowboy Bebop is actually pretty compressed compared to a lot of shows. I mean,
What's the timeline? Is it like a month-long period or something?
well, I just mean from like Spike's whole backstory, his death that he mentioned in the fifth session was 3 years ago, and then the hyperspace gate explosion on the moon was 30 years ago. So it's it's not the overall like scope of the galaxy at that point. It's not
right.
It's not supposed to be that far out,
and that's interesting. They got 30 years they could play with if they ever wanted to bring this show back. I mean, I don't know. Do you think they're going to air this episode on Netflix? Do you think they'll have this same kind of villain during the live action?
I think they could definitely get away with it a little more with Netflix. I mean, have you seen Umbrella Academy?
Absolutely.
Number 5.
Oh man,
number 5.
Oh,
Number 5 all day, dude.
that would be
Actually,
awesome.
I love number 5 for lots of stuff.
Yeah, he'd actually be a great actor for them to cast if they
he would be
if they wanted to pull him in for
all he needs to do is learn how to play
Bebop.
harmonica.
Just grab Aiden Gallagher for that like one episode.
Brilliant. That's perfect. I think if they didn't cast him for that role, then they're making a mistake for sure.
Yeah.
The more of this show I watch, though, the more excited I am for the live action. I don't know. I like live action adaptations of things. And maybe it's because I liked Ghost in the Shell. A lot of people didn't really like the live action Ghost in the Shell, which is fine. I bought it. I still, I watched it a couple times. So I am extremely excited to see the live action adaptation. And the more of these villains and the more of these shots that I see, God, especially in this episode, you get a lot of really good cityscape shots.
Yeah.
And seeing those, it's very reminiscent of like Blade Runner.
Yes.
The last shot of this show was like a Blade Runner shot. And, again, the color palettes and all that, the schemes of these episodes are all different. And I'm really enjoying that for sure.
Yeah. And then I guess
I would say that the next part is pretty much just to talk about the final time. I'm just
their last confrontation.
The final time
with
the
Wen.
kid gets shot in the head. Yeah. Does she shoot him with a bullet made out of that ring? Is that what happens?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I must have missed that.
Jet actually took the stone. They talk about how the stone contains the same energy from the gate accident, and that it should, in theory, undo what the gate explosion did.
Okay.
So Jet makes a single bullet out of it, and then Spike takes off with what's basically like a tranquilizer gun.
Oh, I think we're frozen.
Spike takes off with what's basically like a tranquilizer gun with that one bullet loaded in it.
Yeah. And that was perfect shot too. Like, and I love the badassery of Spike where he's just standing there as the
3 shots
dude is
come
shooting at
in.
him. And he barely like moves his cheek when he gets hit, and he's like, you know what? I'm done with this.
Yep.
And I really like that. Sorry, Ricky, go for it.
Yeah, so Giraffe was tracking this Wen.
Yeah.
And he had it as a ring.
Yes.
Are we supposed to believe that Giraffe was going to punch this ring straight into his forehead and achieve the same thing?
It would have been like kryptonite. When he's around the ring, it like takes his powers away.
Maybe.
Right?
I thought of it more as just a threat. Just hey, I don't want to have to do this, but I have what I would need in order to take you out. Give me my friend.
Spike
back.
is like, screw that. I'm just gonna take him out.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. Kylie, is there any other things that we're missing from this episode? Any other notes?
I don't think so. Episode storyline wise, no.
Okay.
I had one little thing, just a fun little note from the episode. I love how Spike and Jet treat Faye. She's like
Oh my
lounging
God.
around in all her skimpy clothes and kind of trying to be hot girl manipulative towards them. And they don't
have
want
none
any
of it.
They have zero interest. It's like, here's your bill. We're going to go get some money. That money is not for you. So you handle your own finances.
And quit eating
Moving
the damn
on.
dog food.
Yeah. So I love
Food's
that
for the
she was
dogs.
just trying to control and manipulate them. They're like, nah. Sorry, hun.
Yeah. And hopefully they start being a little bit nicer to her. Or maybe
Tolerate.
she'll start being a little bit more.
Well, they will
um,
if she
Yeah.
deserves
If she
it.
feeds the
There-
dog.
Yeah.
Their working relationship is in development over the whole course of the series.
Totally.
Jesse, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about as far as this episode goes before we move into our next segments?
No, I think that pretty much covers everything I had. The second episode, I ran into the same issue that I did last week, where it's like I'm writing a bunch of notes. I'm really noticing the aesthetic. I'm loving the music. I'm loving the visuals. And then the last like 10 minutes of the episode, I just can't stop watching long enough to write a note down. Outside of just like, I love the sci-fi aspects of this show. They're not overly heavy-handed. It's, kind of Star Trek-y, where they're like, here's a thing that happened. Here's a jumbly, jargony explanation of it. You don't really need to get it. It's good enough. You understand as much as you need to understand, right? So, this episode is for me one of the few episodes of television in general that you can just like, I could, as soon as it's done, I could hit restart and watch it again and have just as good a time personally. Like, it just, I'm in love with this episode's music and the visuals. Like I was saying, all of the tropes fit together perfectly for me. I don't think I have any other notes other than, damn, it's beautiful.
All right.
got-
Well, then let's. Oh, sorry. Go for it, Phil.
I
What you got?
got two more fairly quick things.
Go for it. Yeah.
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the title of the episode coming from the Rolling Stones song.
Oh yes, that was one of my fun facts.
Yep.
But it's funny because Honky Tonk Woman was also a Rolling Stones song too. So
Yep.
Okay.
And then, so the final line of the episode, when Spike throws the harmonica up in the air and pretends to shoot it,
Bang.
just bang.
Yeah.
So that line is one of the high points of the whole episode for me, because it'll come back.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
it became such an iconic line for Steve Bloom that he actually has it tattooed on his arm. Okay. It's the sonic waveform of his voice saying
nice,
bang.
bang.
And he has-
Wow.
Yeah. And he used it as his sign off back in 2008, I think, when Toonami was going off of the air. Tom
That's-
signed off with bang.
That is so
that's-
cool, man.
Yeah.
It's
That's really
become it's become a very popular kind of thing for Steve Bloom, just as kind of a connection to the character.
Heck yeah. I love that. I love the iconic, like, I don't know.
Well, with all
I
the-
love that it became an iconic thing. Just that
Yeah.
one little line,
All the things that Steve Bloom has done, Spike was his first.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Was one of his
Sure.
first. It was like his first big anime.
his first
he
big,
actually
yeah.
Okay.
he actually did it under a pseudonym.
Really? What
Yeah.
was his pseudonym before? That's cool.
What was it?
Solid Snake, right?
No,
I want to give a shout out to Intrepid DM, Reckonixie, and Phaedra Mark for joining us. Thanks
Hang
for coming in. Phil is looking up the pseudonym for Steve Bloom, the voice actor of.
he
What?
had it. It's in the credits. David Lucas.
Oh, okay.
So he's in the credits at the end of the show as David Lucas.
Huh. All right.
Yeah.
That's those are good things to know. I did want to move on to this. Speaking of good things to know, Kylie does have a set of fun facts. So let's go into Kylie's fun facts.
KF
Well,
squared.
Phil, Kago Squared. Phil took my second one, the Rolling Stones. But no, kudos to you. So this first one, it was something that I don't know because I'm a weirdo. When it comes to music, I love classic rock. As you guys have noticed, I'm always dropping classic rock stuff. You know, the David Bowie, the last episode, and the Rolling Stones. So I'm sitting here and I am watching episode 5. And Rosie actually mentioned this way earlier in the episode, this particular one, in the chat, that she really, really liked the song when, Spike gets pushed out of the window and he's all fallen and it's all beautiful and theatrical. There's a song that plays called The Rain. And it's a song that's, written by Yoko Kanno, like we talked about, and then performed by the Seatbelts. And I'm sitting there listening to it, and I was like, I know this song. I've heard this song a million times. Well, another thing that I really like, another music genre that I really like, is gangster rap. Very, very big juxtaposition to classic rock. I don't know where that comes from, but anywho, there is
Because you live in Inglewood, that's why.
Yeah, perhaps. But there is a rapper here in America. His name is Tech9. Been around for a long time. He's just always been my favorite. Listen to him or not, whatever. But I'm sitting here and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've heard this song. It's called The Rain. And Tech9 sings it. And I was looking it up on Google. He absolutely sampled that beat from this song, from the Seatbelts, from Yoko Kanno. My favorite rapper totally did this song by sampling off of this.
Yeah, that's very, very crazy.
And I just thought it was funny that I even caught it because I'm just like a super fan of Tech9 or whatever. And then, come to find out, he absolutely sampled it from Cowboy Bebop. And it just goes to show, I think it's really neat that Bebop pulls from, Rolling Stone songs and different things of culture, but that it's so cool and so popular and everybody thinks that it's just like so top notch that, different parts of media, different parts of pop culture, you'll find Cowboy Bebop everywhere. And I think that is so super cool. But other than that, I'm there. My other one was Sympathy for the Devil, Rolling Stones. Somebody who makes the show must really like Rolling Stone, which is cool. But other than that, I think that's it for my fun facts, and I'm very excited to get into our segments, which is some of the funnest parts of the show.
Heck yes. So let's actually, you know what? Before we get into the first segment, so we don't forget, let's rate these episodes, because I don't want to forget about that and then have to do an intermission rate of these episodes next week when, So we're going to do that. We'll rate both episodes at the same time. We'll start with Jesse, go to Kylie, go to Phil, go to Ricky, and then I will finish off. So let's start with Jesse. What are you going to rate these 2 episodes? Did he freeze?
So the first episode, Ballad of Fallen Angels, it's really high on the list for me. I'm gonna have to give it I would say, I don't know. It's hard for me not to rate it as high as possible, but I would go with say probably an 8.9 for that episode. I mean, it's really, really high up there. There's a couple things that hold it back for me. Nothing huge, obviously. But it's just breathless, right? I feel like by the time it's over, I haven't had a moment to breathe since it started. And that's a thing that I love in my pacing and definitely in my anime, because that's kind of a difficult thing to pull off when you have to draw it, right? Because you have to really express that sense of speed and desperation and just constant chaos with drawn lines. So it's very high on the list for me. Now, that having been said, episode 6, Sympathy for the Devil, is probably one of my favorite episodes of the series overall. So I'm going to give that one a 9.5. And that's not to say that there are only a couple of episodes better than it, but that's how much I love this episode. Like, as soon as it was done, I watched this episode once on Wednesday, and then I've had the music in my head since then. So I watched it again today, and then when we went to get coffee before the show, I was listening to the soundtrack. I was listening to Clutch. This episode just sticks with me because it's so, everything in it is just dripping with style, right? Like, there's nothing pedestrian in this episode. Everything is cool. Everything is moody. Everything is bluesy. Everything fits so well thematically. I mean, a hyperspace portal explodes and it creates an infinity stone that knocks a child out of time. That's just cool. And there's a Corvette, and there's bounties, and there's just, it's so entertaining. There's so much in this episode. So yeah, for me, this one is actually even higher than the one prior. I give this episode a 9.5.
That is wow. That's incredible. Even Rona says 8.9. Really? Wow. Yeah, those are some pretty high ratings coming from you, Jesse. Kylie, sorry, my English is just awful today. What are your ratings
They are
for episode 5
I
and
rate
6?
on my emotions.
Oop.
So
Oh man. Gosh, I want to say I gotta do at least an 8 for session 5, Ballad of Fallen Angels. There is a lot going on in that episode. You got the opera house where that's like super intense, but then you got the love triangle. And first of all, I gotta say I don't think we talked enough about Annie. That's probably one of my favorite characters. What a cool character. I was just watching what is it, Mr. Deeds the other day, the Adam Sandler, and it kind of reminded me of I can't remember what her name is, but you know, his best friend.
Pizza lady? The
Yeah.
pizza lady?
Do you know what her name?
Yeah.
Do you remember her name? I can't
Oh,
remember.
well, if it isn't Miss Slut. The one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's just, you know, that like good old, like probably really kind-hearted, I don't know. So I'm just gonna shout out to Annie there. So 8 for that one.
Okay.
And then session 6, Sympathy for the Devil. Man, I gotta go ahead and say that that's a 9. Just because the villain is probably one of the coolest villains, one of the coolest concepts of a villain that I've seen across the board on anything. So I'm gonna give that one a 9.
All right. Perfect. Phil, what are your ratings for episodes 5 and 6?
So for Ballad of Fallen Angels, session 5, I have to give it at least an 8.5 out of 10. Again, because it is such a kickstart to the overarching plot of the series. I know going through this, if I were going through the series for the first time, I would not necessarily rate it quite that high. But just going back through it and knowing how it ties into everything that comes down the line, I got to give that one an 8.5. Right. And for session 6, for Sympathy for the Devil, I can't go quite as high as Jesse and Kylie on this one, just because I think it was a fun concept with the villain, but I wouldn't say that it's Bebop's best, but give it some bonus points back for the whole bang bit. So let's call that one a 7 out of 10.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And Ricky, let's go with you, 5 and 6.
Ballad of the Fallen Angels, I first wrote down 8.5. But while we were doing this episode and thinking about everything, I think I had to bump it up to a 9. It was just that final scene, the whole church fight aspect, that was so cool. And that bumped me up to a 9. Sympathy for the Devil, I'm going down to 8.5, which is still a very high score. And I think I might be mimicking Phil and Jesse a little more if I had more experience. I felt very lost in this episode. I have no idea who the lion and the giraffe are. I was really struggling with holding on to some information, but it was still a really great episode with a really good villain. 8.5.
All right. Perfect. So originally on session 5, I had given it a 7. That was my original rating, and I just changed it as you guys were all talking. Because Phil said this episode has more implications for the future, which is wonderful, and I love that. And Ricky also said that he had changed his rating, so I'm also going to change my rating from a 7 to an 8.5 because it was really good. That church scene was badass, and that I'm pretty sure most of our shots of the show come from that scene. So this episode was badass. I'm going to give it an 8.5. Also, the opera scene reminding me of Fifth Element is a bonus. So episode 6, I'm going to go ahead and rate that one an 8.5 because the villain is my favorite so far. So I'm going to keep it on par with the last episode and give it the same rating at an 8.5. I just, he was a cool villain, and seeing him age at the very end was, I don't know, creepy yet satisfying.
It was very Last Crusade.
Yeah, very much. Yes, that's wonderful. Okay, so let's move on to the next segment of the show, which is that is the Spiegel Spiel. This is the part of the show where we give our favorite lines of the episodes. If we have lines from each episode, great. If not, also great. Let's go in the same order. We're going to start with Jesse, go to Kylie, then Phil, then Ricky, then I will finish off our favorite lines of the show. Start with episode 5, then give your episode 6. Jesse.
So my favorite line for Spiegel Spiel this week for episode 5 is, I don't mean to take anybody's line, but when Spike says, "I bled all of that kind of blood away," and Vicious says, "Then why are you still alive?" I just love that because it took me a second to pick up that response, right? Because I was like, what? Oh, because all of his blood is that kind of, I see what you did there, Vicious. It took me a second, but then I was like, damn, that's really cool. Like, it was so quick and cool that I almost missed it. So there's not really much else I feel like I have to say about that line, right? And that's kind of my pick for Spiegel Spiel for episode 5. Sorry.
What about episode 6? Did you have one for episode 6?
Oh, I do have one for episode 6. Sorry, I forgot I was supposed to do 2 at once. The second one is not the whole exchange that I'm going to mention here, and you guys will know the exchange that I'm talking about. My pick for Spiegel Spiel from this exchange is just the part where Spike says, "A baby hipster, very cool."
That was cute. Yep.
I thought it was funny that they used the word hipster back then. I guess I didn't realize that's been a word forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
There I am showing how young I am.
Evolution of the word. That's cool.
That's great. Kylie, what are your Spiegel Spiels for episodes 5 and 6? Or if you only have one, then that's fine.
So I do not have one for 5 because I picked a scene, but for session 6, it was just one that I thought was kind of fun. It's not necessarily true, but sometimes we like to pretend it is. Where Faye's talking, she says, girls need to be pampered because we are delicate and refined. No, we're very strong and we don't need to be pampered, but sometimes we like to. So
yeah, this is right after she's eating dog food.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, what the hell?
So delicate and refined.
Scarfing dog food, I would go with.
Yeah.
Man, not even just eating it. Oof. All right, excellent. Phil, what are your lines for episodes 5 and 6, or just one if you only got one?
So for back to Ballad of Fallen Angels, you got Spike in the middle of the whole exchange with Vicious in the church. Spike says, "I'm just watching a bad dream I never wake up from."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that one has stuck with me for almost 2 decades now.
Nice.
Yeah. And then for episode 6, the final bit notwithstanding, again, Spike on his way out the door, on his way out of the Bebop, just says to Jet, kind of makes it interesting.
Oh right, okay.
Jet's telling him, there's no chance that it's going to work for sure, and Jet just says, or Spike just says, kind of makes it interesting.
Yeah, that is cool. I like that. I like that badass line.
Yeah,
I'm a badass.
he gets a lot of the one-liners.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree with that. All right, Ricky, what are your lines for the show? Your favorite speaker spiels?
I picked a line that Josh was complaining about earlier. I loved it when Faye was sitting around with Ein after Jet and Spike had just stormed out, and she goes, "Men are such babies." That definitely got a laugh out loud moment from me. And
Nice.
then for Sympathy for the Devil, I was really trying to hold on to all the information this episode, and I was just confused as could be. So there was that moment where Spike asked Jet, "Get the picture?" Jet goes, "Yeah, as if," and Jet goes, "Yeah, I know." And it spoke to the confusion of the entire thing, because he didn't know if he was going to be able to defeat Wen. He didn't. There's all this weird thing because Wen's a child and he's an immortal child, and all this confusion. And they're like, "Yeah, we're just as confused as you guys are."
Yeah, definitely a line I think that will speak to first-time viewers.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so my 2 lines. Where is it? Oh, so session 5. Line of the show comes from Annie. You're a stubborn show-off. You think it'd kill you to listen to your elders once. I liked that. That was funny. I'm pretty sure one of my elders has said that to me at least once in my life. And then the second shot in episode 6, session 6. It's very brief, but it's from Wen, I think the kid. God, the old man boy. He says it's like throwing pearls to swine. I don't know why that stuck out so much. I just thought that was a pretty cool way to say just throwing it away, basically.
Yeah, and it's a fun kind of older phrase that somebody living at his time would have maybe known, but that somebody, one of Spike's contemporaries might not have been familiar with the phrase.
Right. Yeah, that's I really liked that one. So sweet. All right, great. We got one more thing to go through here, and then we're gonna wrap this bad boy up. Again, apologies for all the things happening this episode. It has been a crazy episode. It has been a fun episode. But yeah, sorry we're going a little bit longer than normal this week. So, all right, here we go. Our next segment. That's right. It's time for a shot of the show, where we talk about each shot that we liked, and we'll go in the same order. Jesse, Kylie, Phil, Ricky, then me. We'll do both episode 5 and 6 at the same time. So what I'm going to do is flash it right now. Here we go. This is Jesse's first shot of the show for session 5. Jesse, go ahead and tell us about it.
So this shot takes place at 1825 if you're watching on Hulu. Of course, this is one of those shots that when you see it, your mind just goes, "Oh, yep, that's the one right there." This is, I don't know, silhouettes have always gotten me. I love the simplicity of a good silhouette. I really like just the contrast, and in this image, we have our characters actually being really, really small, and the window is the focus, right? So the thoughts and the spirituality and the moral code of these men is what's on display here, not necessarily the men themselves. And it just I mean, how many cool bridge fight scenes have you seen in movies and TV and everything? I mean, they're all over the place. So to get one that, you know, doesn't feel like it's copied from anything, and specifically, I think it's the detail on this window, which is just amazingly intricate and ridiculous. I think that it's one of those scenes that sticks in your head even when the show is over. So that's why I had to pick that one. For episode 6, the time code, if you are watching on Hulu at home, will be 9 minutes and 45 seconds. And this is a shot of Spike in the smoke-filled blues bar where he goes back to see the kid play harmonica again. So this is actually the second time that we see Spike sitting at this table by himself. And the thing that I like about this is that it addresses that thing that Josh was talking about. I don't remember if it was last episode or the episode prior, but where all the characters that are not Spike have almost no detail on them. They're all one color. They don't really have more than one layer of shading, and that's because they're not important, right? And that's how Spike is experiencing this room. It's just sort of a brown din noise behind him. The smoke is hanging there. You can feel it. You can almost, smell it. And he has this all alone in a room full of people feeling pretty constantly. And this shot really serves to illustrate that. And it just sets the mood so well for the whole episode. I mean, the whole episode really feels like you're in the underground basement bar of this character's soul, right? And he's bearing it all. So those are my 2 shots this week. Thank you for pulling those, Josh. They look great on stream, by the way.
Yeah, no problem. I got shots for every person in here this time, and they all look like that. I'm excited about it. And Kylie, you're next on shot of the show. I believe you had one right from episode. You had a line from episode 6 and a shot from episode 5, right?
That's correct.
Tell us about this shot.
Okay, so I picked this one just kind of as I mentioned a little bit earlier in the episode. I just thought it was just so very poetic and beautiful and anime, and again, how can we make this scene the most epic, most beautiful, most memorable kind of thing? And we should definitely have him fall out of the window with debris in slow motion with a very beautiful song kind of thing. But it worked, so that's why I picked it.
Heck yeah. I don't remember the exact time code on that, but it was
I don't have the time code.
I don't know. But it's when Spike is fallen out of the window in the church in session 5. That I think that whole scene was just incredible where they're going to the flashbacks and stuff. So all right. Excellent shot of the show.
Would have been
Phil.
around 19 minutes in.
Okay. God. Dang.
I took stupidly detailed notes.
Oh, well, hey, man. That's great. Speaking of that, so you also have some shots of the show. You took both of my shots. Good thing I had some backups because you took some of the good ones. So let's start off with your session 5 shot. Tell us a little bit about this one.
All right. So this is just Spike kind of hang on a second. Whoop, sorry. That one wasn't mine.
Was it not?
I don't think. The one I'd had was first one was going to be in the cathedral from around 1433 with Vicious perching in the cathedral with his sword. So I mean, that's a good shot.
I don't believe that's what Ricky
I don't know
gave
that
me.
I made
Ricky.
Exactly what I told you.
it. Well, regardless,
Are you talking about? Is it this one?
yeah, there it is.
Dude, so this is the other one that I picked. What the? All right, so you tell us about this one, and then you've all seen my shot already. So,
so yeah, no, this one just with you get shots throughout the episode with Vicious and his bird, and I just loved the kind of similar perching imagery of this, where he's almost mimicking that posture, where he's just sitting there waiting because he knows the Spike's coming.
heck yeah! All right, now let me make sure
Sorry,
that
Josh.
I have. No, it's fine. And even in here, I'll even give you a little peek right here. Look, see my files. Josh shot, Phil shot.
Yep.
And I had to rearrange those when Ricky gave me your shots, but it's okay. Everything is under control. This seems to just be par for the course of this episode, I feel like. So, let me go ahead and find your next shot here. I believe you had, yes, this is the one. Here we go.
Yep.
This is it.
Yep. So we got Wen's just smirk right before Spike's last bullet hits him. That's time code is about 20 minutes, 35 seconds into the episode. And just his sheer confidence that nothing that Spike can do can actually touch him.
Yeah.
And, he's obviously very suddenly proven wrong, but.
Right. And again, that was my first choice. It was a very good choice. I really liked every aspect of that one. So, all right, Ricky.
All right.
You are
My
up.
first-
Let me.
Yeah.
Sorry. You go ahead and start talking about it.
Sure.
Go for it.
My first episode, my first shot from episode 5 was pretty much exactly at the 3-minute mark. And that's when it's one of our first shots of Vicious. And I was just immediately struck by, this looks so much like Sephiroth. So that's where I originally started calling him that. And it was also just a very good shot that it says a lot about his character. He's very dark. He's very brooding. He's very capable. And I just thought that was a really cool shot.
Heck yeah. I really, again, I got those Final Fantasy vibes a lot in this.
And his long, skinny sword, same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All right. So I got your next shot here. Here we go. Right? That's right, right?
No.
Oh, my God.
My second shot was at, 11 minutes and 38 seconds in.
11:38. All right, go ahead and talk about it. I'll find it while you're talking about it.
This was it was basically when Spike was going in to confront Well, and he had all these suspicions and he knew he needed this stone, but he finally had confirmation that this kid was kind of ageless, and he was Wen was basically telling him everything that he thought was right, and he was just standing in the middle of that room with the spotlight shining down on him, and everything was dawning on him that this is going exactly the way that he had planned.
Oh man, you said 11:38?
Yep.
Gotcha. All right. This one right here.
That's the one.
Yeah,
Excellent
that is a pretty
choice.
cool shot. Yeah. He looks like he's getting ready to perform or something. I like it.
And it's a great
Yeah.
contrast to the shot of him in the jazz lounge too.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Sorry that was a giant disaster, guys. This is my shot, the one that I was trying to do earlier. I really like the cityscape again, and the color of it, and him walking up that, like, I don't know if you ever played the game Bloodborne, but I get some Bloodborne vibes from this shot.
It definitely looks like 16-bit SNES era, where there would be characters and stuff you're doing in front, and there'd just be kind of weird, blurry, like backgrounds, just kind of giving you this looming, scary feeling, kind of like the backgrounds in Castlevania or Metroid or something like that.
Definitely.
No doubt. I like that. I like that you say that they're like, and again, the cityscapes. I really liked. This was like the final shot of episode 6, session 6, where Spike is basically standing over the guy's body, and right before he throws the harmonica up, it does the pan out and shows the cityscape and Spike's shadow, and I really liked that shot as well. So yeah, those are some good shots. I know that Jesse will have something with some of those shots, possibly maybe on the Instagrams. I will, since I have them saved on my computer, I'll put some up on my Instagrams as well at Twist My Arm Podcast. Okay, guys, it has been a rough one. We've had a fun time though with this show. I think it's time to probably wrap it up. Phil, you want to give us some plugs where people can find you if you'd like people to find you, or anything that you're working on, or any projects or anything like that?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. I am at FlipWriter. You can find a blog where I do a whole bunch of stuff about book reviews and some stories of my whole grad school experience as a library science student at swordsoftheancients.com. And you can see me and hear me occasionally in Session 0, a D&D conversation on YouTube.
Okay.
I just want to make sure everybody heard that. Phil is a sexy librarian.
That is incredible. Okay, I think that's gonna call it up. This has been a really weird show. I feel like every single one of us was a host at some point in time in this show, and every single one of us did a fantastic job. And I want to thank everyone in the chat for hanging out with us while we figure our shit out. This is what an award-winning podcast does. They pivot and they do everything they can to make the show the best it can be. So again, thank you guys so much. Follow us on Twitter at Sudden Butt. You got Kylie at Miss My Armcast, me at Twist My Armcast, Ricky at Best Flicks Ricky D. I think that's gonna do it for this week's episode. I know that next week Jesse will have so much more to say and so many corrections of how I don't know. We'll have corrections next week, I'm sure. But for now, thank you guys for watching the Sudden But Inevitable Rebop podcast. My name is Josh.
This is Ricky.
This is Kylie.
I'm Jesse.
I'm Philip. Hey.
We're going to talk to you guys next week.